Okay, I talked to you guys the other day about why you should retire as soon as you can. So in today's episode, I'm gonna talk to you guys about the 5 reasons why you may want to delay your retirement as soon as you can. So let me go ahead and get started. And the number 1 reason why I think you may want to delay your retirement is basically losing your social network, losing your friends, right? The people you spend time with. And I didn't realize that until actually when we retired. And a lot of our friends that we had was through my wife's work, right? And we used to have like couples, like her boss and his wife, and we do stuff together as couples, right? We go out and meet up for dinner, go out to movies, and also maybe go on vacation together. So yeah, we had friends through her work. Also, not only through her work, but also our neighbors, right? So when we moved abroad in retirement, we also lost our neighbor friends, right? So the neighbors across the street, we spend time with them all the time, right? Almost like every day of the week seemed like, you know, we see their kids grow up and go to high school and off to college. And yeah, so we spend time with them like a lot, right? So one of the things I think a lot of retirees don't think about when we retire is we lose our social network. We lose our friends, right? And in our case, we actually physically moved to another country, so we lost our friends through moving as well as, you know, our jobs, in terms of leaving the job, right? So yeah, I think that's one thing that if you are like in a group setting with your friends through work, that could be some reason why you don't want to retire, because you don't want to lose that social connection or that group of friends that you're familiar with and spend time with. Because this leads me to the second reason why you may want to delay your retirement. And that means that you may be bored, right? And that's another thing that happened to me when I retired early on. I got bored. I never thought about it in terms of, you know, when you're not working, what do you do? And it doesn't have to be for fun, it's just what do you do, right? And so I was used to, you know, going to work all the time, and even if I'm not at work, I'm also working at home, and I'm not working at the, you know, office or whatever. So I always seem to be working. In my mind, I'm always working. So yeah, so when I stopped working, we moved to Costa Rica, and yeah, I told you guys the story already that I was making like jam for about a month. All right, and after a while that got kind of old, and I was just kind of sitting there creating a routine in the morning, have coffee, right, browse the internet, you know, watch YouTube, and then have lunch, right, and then maybe go for a walk, you know, enjoy the sights of Costa Rica. But after a while it gets boring. So the second reason you may want to avoid retiring early is you may get bored. Yeah, so unless you have some other kind of passion or some other things that you want to do with your life, you may get bored, and you might want to say, you know what, this is not, retirement's not for me. So that's something to think about. And the third thing you might want to think about when it comes to retirement and retiring early is you may also appreciate financial stability, right? And when you retire early, you lose that regular paycheck, right, that you're used to. So every, you know, 2 weeks or every month you get a paycheck, and then basically the money's in your bank account, and it's like, that feels good, right? On top of that, you also have health insurance, right? So health insurance sometimes with jobs is included as a part of your employment. So when you're employed, guess what? You have health insurance. So, you know, not having to worry about health insurance, not having to worry about having money coming in, you know, that's kind of a comfort feeling, right? Because if you were to not have a job, right, and you're retired, you may be like kind of stressing out, like, oh, there's no money coming in. It's just my investments in my retirement, right? And also, you know, health insurance, you know, we pay for health insurance, so we pay annually, and that's taken care of. But at the same time, you may be worried about, you know, where am I gonna get the money for health insurance, right? And on top of that, you know, when you retire, let's say in the States, right? Because we live abroad, right? So it's a little different in our situation. But let's say you live in the States and you have to pay for your other expenses, right? You have to pay for your property tax, you have to pay for your car insurance, you have to pay for your utilities, you have to pay for food and everything, right? So there's a lot of bills that come up, right? So having that, sometimes, you know, will make you kind of stressed out, right? So having a regular paycheck is sometimes a good thing when it comes to, your life. It kind of keeps you mentally balanced, right? Because I tell you what, if you're stressing out about money and having a paycheck coming in, that may detract you from wanting to retire early. So if you guys are worried about that, yeah, you may not want to retire early. Let's put it that way. All right, let me go ahead and see if I can cross the street here. I want to avoid traffic. And there's traffic, so you gotta be careful. And then number 4, is not only worrying about, having a paycheck coming in, but also you have to worry about basically the financial stability of the world, right? Economy. So you have to worry sometimes about, is it gonna be a recession, right? And then you have to worry about, is there going to be inflation, right? We had that happen just not too long ago, right? People were worried about inflation and watching the market, and yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking, right? So, but when you're not retired, you don't have to worry about that as much because you have a paycheck coming in, right? But if you don't have a paycheck coming in, and also there is financial instability, that can also make you not want to retire early because of that. So there's external factors that also contribute to you not wanting to retire early because you can't, those are things you can't control, right? And so those unforeseen things can also be very nerve-wracking, right? And a lot of times when people talk about retiring early, it's really a lot of emotional aspect of it as well. You're emotionally connected, and also it can be very, and not only intimidating, but also kind of, it can be scary. Let's put it that way. Just be scary to retire because you can't predict the future, right? And the only thing you can do is to set yourself up the best you can to prepare for that, right? It's almost like having like an insurance, right? You're just kind of preparing to have a situation where the market goes kind of crazy, or if the inflation happens and prices go up in terms of, cost of items. Is that going to be an issue where you don't want to retire early because you're worried about that, right? So that's another thing to worry about, is the financial instability of the world can also impact you not wanting to retire early. And the final thing that may discourage you and not want to retire early is the idea that you're starting over, guys. You're kind of like starting a new life. You leave the work, you leave your job, right? And you're done. You're retired. Now you don't have your coworkers, the friends that hang out. You don't have your regular routine of the things you do. Wake up in the morning, having coffee, maybe having breakfast, going to work, having a lunch break, coming home from work, taking care of whatever you need to take care of, having dinner, watch a little TV and go to bed, right? That becomes a comfort zone, right? That everybody kind of gets familiar with. It's really a habit that just kind of just goes on and repeat day after day after day. And sometimes that can be scary when you stop doing that and you have to start all over again, right? And start basically a new life. Because you have to have new friends, have new routines, right? And a new sense of purpose, right? Because ultimately we work and we find that work is a sense of purpose for us. It's a reason why that, we get up in the morning is to go to work, to pay for our bills in life and to provide for our families. That is what we do, right? And sometimes our work can be our identity, where we feel as though this is what defines us, which it shouldn't, but unfortunately, some of us feel that way, that our work is what defines us. And so when you take that away, what's left, right? It's kind of scary. So I think the 5th thing that may prevent you from wanting to retire early is, to start over. Because starting over is a little scary. And, the one thing nice about it was when we retired early is that we were together, my wife and I. So we were able to retire together. So have someone there with me in the process of retiring early and to move abroad, it is better, right? I can't imagine doing this by myself, right? It would have been scary because, it's just, you're starting a new stage in your life of retirement and you don't know, exactly what you're going to do, right? You have these visions, oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this, but you don't know for certain, You know, nothing's for certain, right? But guys, I just want to kind of give you guys the opposite side of things to think about, because I know, you know, I talked about how I love retirement and I used to retire early, but at the same time, there are people that do not want to retire early because of these factors. And they're very valid factors, very valid reasons why not to retire early. So I'm not saying that you have to retire early, but I'll tell you what, think about it. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And if you guys enjoy this kind of content, make sure to make a comment below. Let me know that you're enjoying this content. I'm going to talk to you guys more and more about retiring early, as well as maybe not to retire early. Who knows? But I had a fun time today to talk to you guys about why you should wait to retire. And if you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure to smash the like button. And we'll see you guys back in the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.